All right. Hello there. My name is A Variety Pack, and today we will be demonstrating the Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD. Joining me today is Pippi, but we'll get into that as soon as we start the run. Can I confirm, please, that the file name was chosen to be Faith?
Yep, I'm checking in, and yes, Faith did win. File name Bidwar.
All right. What a fantastic and apropos name. We will start the run in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, like I said, my name is A Variety Pack. I stream a ton of different games, but this is the one I've been most recently focusing on. I am joined in commentary by PippyInATopHat, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
That is me. I am PippyInATopHat. I do wear those. I run the SD variant of this game, not the HD one, so there will be a few differences from what I do that Variety's going to show off for us.
Yeah, well, the biggest one is that historically at GDQ, Skyward Sword has been made use of something called Back in Time, which lets you play on the title screen, and it's very, very fun. If you'd like to explain a little bit more in depth what that is.
Yeah, essentially, Back in Time is a glitch that works in the SD variants of Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, and Skyward Sword. It's most broken in Skyward Sword and most famous in Skyward Sword because it lets you play on not only the title screen, but the file select screen. And because of that, we can do some little file shenanigans and a lot of comp sci, and it tends to be a very confusing and wacky run. However, this is HD, and while it wasn't patched from HD, triggering Back in Time as a game state actually relies upon being able to soft reset your console to the title screen, which the Switch cannot natively do without homebrewing, so it doesn't need to be patched. It's inaccessible at this time, so we will not be seeing file shenanigans today. Much more just clean gameplay.
Exactly. Something else that I didn't actually get to show off is that we're actually going to be playing this in hero mode, which means that there are no health drops and all the enemies do double damage. This is very important for a couple of reasons. One, we will need to damage ourselves down to 0 health several times throughout the run. Additionally, our Skyward Strike, which we'll be picking up later, will go further and deal more damage, akin to the final version of the sword that you normally would have as you play through casually. We'll explain the very many times where that actually comes into play, but we have not picked it up yet. We haven't actually talked a ton about the run as it currently stands, so let's do that. The first thing I'd like to talk about is movement. A lot of people sort of maligned this game when it first came out for its use of the stamina wheel, although people seem to have gotten over it with Breath of the Wild. However, in Skyward Sword, you have a bit of a green lime thing that shows up in the center of the screen, and it will go down as you hold down the B button to sprint or do rolls. Something that is a little bit quirky about it, though, is that the final quarter of the lime here actually drains at half the speed, meaning that for optimal movement, we're actually only going to be refilling the final quarter of the wheel because it recovers at the same rate as the rest of the wheel. Along the way, we'll be picking up these green stamina fruits, which fills up our stamina bar all the way. And a lot of this run, in fact, the vast majority of this run, I would say, is being able to manage how much stamina you have at any given point. For example, we're actually going to be doing a roll into the loading zone of this cutscene because we knew that we wouldn't recover our stamina at the end of the cutscene.
Yeah, the game does have moments where it just resets your stamina to full, and cutscenes, saving, like various points, it'll reset your stamina to full. Also, managing when you roll and when you don't is a big part of movement in this game. You'll notice that Variety will usually roll when she starts moving, which gets Link up to top speed instantly. And if you have extra stamina, you can roll to save approximately 1 frame per roll, or you could lose 1 frame per roll. It's a hilariously small amount of time, so it's kind of a bit of a double-edged sword.
Yeah, rolling is very strange in this game. What ends up happening is that you can either save 2 frames, you can save 1 frame, or you save 0 frames. So on average, you end up saving probably 1 frame per roll. It's very finicky, and if you're sort of starting out learning this game, it is absolutely not worth attempting to micromanage that. There's a lot of other things to get in your hands first. For example, flying. This game really centers around the sky, as hinted by the title. However, there's a couple quirks with flying that sort of go explained in the game, but also don't. I believe, and Pippi, you can correct me if I'm wrong, that the game tells you that if you point your bird downwards, it'll actually make you go faster. You might assume that it does by the animation that you see here. However, I believe that's a lie. Is that correct?
That doesn't actually make you go faster. The fastest way to travel is moving straight, and also those little like bursts of speed that you get. You want to use those optimally. You kind of want to use them all at once, so that they will refill faster if you don't interrupt the refill process by using them. However, this is the flight tutorial, so it's just a time-based thing. It doesn't really matter how fast or slow you move. Zelda makes you fly around and experiment with the controls for a bit, because we definitely have never played this game before.
Yeah, there is a thing that you can do called fast loft wing tutorial. It's a little bit inconsistent, so I didn't even bother going for it in this particular case. Another thing that this HD version has over SD is something called fast text. In SD, you're sort of required to mash at very specific intervals, and the text does not scroll nearly as fast as it is in HD. In HD, by pressing the B button, the entire, as you can see on the bottom, the entire text box does fill immediately, which saves. Man, I wish I knew how much time it saved, but it's
ridiculous amounts.
Yeah. SD runners love running SD, but if there's one thing that they really like about HD, it's the very fast text.
We're all so jealous. That also means that every language is the same in HD. So the language does not matter. English is just the language we are speaking, so.
All right, coming up is the wing ceremony. Our task is to use our loft wing that we just rescued and recover a golden statue that is tied to the ankle of another loft wing that they are trying to train us with. I believe the plot is that whoever gets the statue first becomes a knight and graduates. You cannot lose this, thankfully. I was very scared of that on my first playthrough. But you're going to see me manage how many charges I have at any given time. Essentially, you want to follow the loft wing down a very straight path. It will either turn left or right after a certain time. And you want to make sure you have enough charges to catch up to it as quickly as possible. They're going to start throwing eggs at us. Getting hit by them is sort of annoying, but not too bad in the grand scheme of things.
Gosh, that's so rude.
Yeah, dirty cheaters.
And that was a very good wing ceremony fight. Fight
the bird.
All right, coming up here, we have a lengthy segment of the game where we follow Fi, some people pronounce it, all the way. Yeah, exactly. All the way through the land of Skylock that we are currently in. Not much to say. Some rolls, some optimal movement, but I think this is a good place to get maybe 1 or 2 donations in.
Yeah, we've got $25 from Unnamed Newbie, who says, "Good luck, variety. Here's to seeing Bagheera him fight blindfolded." And just so all of our viewers know, when do we need, when's the cutoff for this? We have about $2,000 to go. We can get there. We're going to need some more donations from you all to see it happen, and for her to not see it happen.
I would assume that it would be around 32, 33 minutes into the run.
Okay, so let's get there, chat. We can do it.
One more.
And help get us there. Yeah, but to help get us there, we do have a $1 donation for Pacific CC. It says, "Love Frame Fatales and Malala Fund. So excited for an amazing week of games. Can we get a $1 donation train for day 1? $1 for blindfolds? Let's see it happen, chat."
One thing that we have not mentioned yet that we probably should is how divisive the motion controls were in this game when it was initially released. I personally don't have too many issues with the SD version whenever I go back to it, which is rarely, admittedly. HD's motion controls I personally find to be a little bit more difficult to use because there's no sensor bar, there's no sort of readjusting for the controller to think of a forward point or forward origin. That being the case, you might hear this sound a lot. Ding, 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 ding. That is me recalibrating the motion controls such that it resets a forward point that all of my motions can be tracked against. You will hear it like 100% of the time through this run because they like to desync themselves pretty handily.
You kind of get a trade-off between HD and SD in that respect, that in SD, the motion controls stay synced a lot longer, but it's much harder to resync them if they get desynced. We don't have just a handy button that does it. So pick your poison. It's up to the runner.
We have gotten the Skyward Sword, so GG, run us over.
You got a sword and you point it skyward? Wow, that was underestimate.
Yeah, exactly. One thing that we just did is the Skyward Strike, which I mentioned a little bit at the beginning of the run. By lifting your sword to the sky, as luck would have it, you can sort of give yourself a ranged attack on your sword. If you were playing in normal mode, what this would entail is a sort of short, not very powerful extension of your blade, but on hero mode, it goes farther and it does significantly more damage. On a casual playthrough, your sword will gradually increase in strength as the game goes along, and by playing on hero mode, your Skyward Sword gets immediately upgraded to the maximum amount of damage that you would normally have. Nice.
Free box. Get your box here.
There will be some required bonks, but that was not one of them. We have Fletch here, who will give us our adventure pack, I think it's
Adventure
called.
pouch?
Excuse me. This is basically the thing that lets us pick up items in this game. One of which is going to be picked up in just 5 seconds here, the shield. Now, Pippy, you don't use the shield in SD very much, do you?
And we don't use the shield at all. A fun sort of restriction of SD is that we wind up using 0 items of any kind. So a lot of things like that Girahim 1 blindfolded are not possible in SD because the way we perform the fights is very restricted since we don't have the shield or items to rely on. But if y'all want to see Girahim 1 blindfolded, you should definitely donate to it because it's a really cool, it's a very cool fight that takes full advantage of the tools at your disposal in Skyward Sword HD specifically.
Yep. That blindfolded fight would not be possible without the shield, actually.
Yes.
So I'm glad that I picked it up. It actually becomes rather vital in HD, just because there's so many enemies that like to be slightly obnoxious, and so the fact that we have an easier way to take care of them is very welcomed. All right, we have successfully landed onto the surface into the Farron region. We will be visiting all 3 regions, although only the first versions of those. There's a bit of a movement here where we slash past that guy. That Dakubaba will not attack us at the proper time. And we're going to bait this guy to attack, and we can just run past and avoid having to actually do the fights, which is intended to help you learn how to control the sword, but I would like to think that I'm used to the sword, that I do not need another tutorial.
This might be a good time to bring up also that this is not an any percent run. This is Harp, which Variety will be playing the game up until the point that you do get the Harp as an item, which is the first 3 dungeons, and none of the area revisits or the rest of the dungeons. So
Yes.
we don't skip the rest of the dungeons. They would be in an 80% run, but this is a little bit more palatable of a length for a marathon.
Right. Pibby, can I ask you a quick question as to
Yes.
how long SD any percent is?
SD any percent is currently 1 hour and 9 minutes and some seconds.
Very nice. Now, in comparison, after the advent of G3 Escape, HD's any percent run is just under 4 hours. That's obviously not the most marathon friendly or even personally friendly type of length. So Harp was created as a way to sort of, I guess, have a middle ground between any percent and being able to experience the game in some capacity.
It's much more runner friendly as well.
All right, this is the Seal Temple, where we're going to meet a character. It's definitely not Impa.
Oh, totally not.
But before we actually go into that beam of light, we're going to pick up a shield potion, I believe it's called. What it does is it restores 4 hearts. A revitaling potion, excuse me, as well as restores any of your shield damage that you have taken. We're not really going to use it for shield regeneration, hopefully. Hopefully not even for health regeneration. It's not even required to pick up. In any percent, it is required because you need to have enough bottles to pick up some water down the line. But it's just for safety for our purposes. Oh, nice.
The final boss of the game is actually placing that marker on the map. It's like weirdly specific, and if you don't place the marker correctly, she gets mad at you and makes you try again. So
endlessly until you finally get it.
Yup.
All right, so I should take a moment to explain one of the quirks of the Skyward Sword, or the Skyward Strike, or at least make it a little bit more explicit. I said that it does a lot more damage, akin to what you would find at the end of a casual playthrough, and it's very useful for groups of enemies, because it's not only a ranged attack, but it has quite a large hitbox as well. So for this fight, we're going to anger all 5 of these enemies who are costing this Goron here, raise our Skyward Strike, and then turn around very quickly, and hopefully slash all 5 of them. Very good. That would be not even thinkable on a normal mode run, so there are definitely benefits to playing on hero mode, even though it is indeed more dangerous because you can die a lot quicker.
Yeah, the reasoning for some of those movements is that if you are too close to an enemy, it will prioritize the damage that the blade does. And the blade does toothpick damage because the blade is bad. It's the first sword you get in the game. Only the strike damage, the like projectile damage, is the hero mode upgraded strike damage. So you want to get further away from the enemies so that you don't have to worry about it giving you less damage there.
We're going to do it again in just a second here with a couple more enemies, but what I just did there was a log jump. Typically when you push that log all the way to the edge of the cliff where you're supposed to put it, it will give you a little cutscene saying, yay, congratulations, you placed it. We can avoid seeing that cutscene by rolling it only halfway there and doing a very precise jump on the edge of the log. Very nice. And we get to meet a new species introduced in Skyward Sword known as the Kikwi. They're very cute, that is undeniable, but Pippi and I seem to have disagreements as to which one is the cutest.
Yes, please donate telling us what your favorite Kikwi choice is so that we can settle our ongoing dispute over who's the best Kikwi. Neither of us think that Machi, this Kikwi who we've just met, is the best Kikwi, by the way. Controversial opinion. I'm on Team Ulu all the way. Ulu's the one with a mohawk and is fast because Ulu respects speedrunning.
Oh my goodness. And, I'm going to stay out of this battle over who's the cutest. I don't want to do this. But if you're wondering what to do as you're sending in your favorite Kikwis, we are at $3,700 out of the $5,000 for the blindfolded incentive, helped by such donations as $100 from Beautiful Dandy, who says, good luck, variety. Let's meet that blindfolded incentive, everyone. And I think we can do it. We are making lightning pace on this. And we also have $5 from Happy by 3, who says, $5 train for Skyward Sword to hit that blindfolded incentive. What a treat, seeing Variety and Pippi at the same time. We're so spoiled. That we are.
Pippi and I have a bit of a history with running this game. We used to, when our PBs were substantially less refined, both of ours, we used to do these races where Pippi would do SD any percent and I would do Harp HD. This is no longer possible because Pippi's PB is now fantastic and mine is good. However, Harp is just naturally a longer category than SD any percent.
No, I mean, we both improved, just I had more ways to go.
All right, coming up is another maligned aspect of this game, which is ropes of any kind. Tight ropes is the first one. Optimal movement for the tightrope is to sort of wiggle your Joy-Con back and forth so that you don't actually end up doing a falling off motion, because that is slow, believe it or not. And we have our third and a third of fourth Skyward Strike fight. Hopefully we can get all 5 of these enemies as well. Run past, charge Skyward Strike, turn around, and slash. And there we go. Very good.
Beautiful job. Those fights are deceptively difficult, by the way, to get all of them in there, especially, like, they can hide behind each other and other things and just hide from your attack, or one of them might just not notice you and be off lollygagging in the corner.
I see what you're trying to do, to try to take away Lopsa's screen time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But Lopsa is my favorite Kikwi. It is a slightly more involved endeavor to rescue Lopsa, but it's worth it. Ulu's coming up in a little bit. There's another one here, technically, named Erla. I don't think I've ever heard Erla's name mentioned outside very specific Skyward Sword conversations.
Erla is nobody's favorite Kikwi because she's annoying in a speedrun context.
Yeah,
also
we have
just
to do this
not
very specific lawnmower motion here. By Skyward Striking the right half of the grass, then switching over and then doing a couple spin attacks with Skyward Strikes, that prevents Erla from actually moving, crawling away from you, which you can't actually interact with them until they stop moving. So by doing that very specific set of slashes, we make it, we make it so that we get to talk to them immediately. And here's Ulu. Ulu.
Ulu.
It's Ulo.
Is it? No, it's Ulu.
I'll be slow just so you can see.
I've always
It's definitely
called her...
1-0.
Ah, I can't read apparently.
Yeah, some favorite Kikwi that is.
Has a mohawk. I play in Japanese.
Okay, that is fair. All right, so you might have noticed that we ignored this very big brown thing here when we first came here. And that's because Bucha, or Buka, depending on who you ask, is you don't actually have to talk to him. He basically gives you the quest to find the other Kikwis, but he does not require you to talk to him before that actually ends up happening. So by rescuing all the Kikwis first, he has a line of dialogue, something to the effect of, "Oh, you found all my Kikwis already. I guess I don't need to actually give you this quest." In reward, he will give us the slingshot, which, because we don't get the bow in this game, is actually becomes quite the big player in a harp run. He's going to talk to us a little bit about the forest area, so I think we can get 1 or 2 donations off here.
Yeah, we have about 10 minutes left to push for that incentive. Everybody, please get your donations in. We're about $1,200 away, but that's going to be closing very, very soon. I want to see the blindfolded Girahim fight. But we do have, speaking of seeing things, we do have $50 from Nux Tenma, who says, "This is a Skyward Sword run, but I don't see save files. What do you mean a variety pack is to see what she's doing?" Well, let's fix that with the blindfolded Girahim fights. We also have $25 from Rexy. "I'm so glad I got to see Variety's practice sessions leading up to Frost Fatales. A wholesome and supportive streamer. Good luck with Skyward Sword HD. Donation goes to Runner's Choice."
All right, coming up is one of the tricks that I spent an hour and a half practicing at like 11:30 at night. This is Cube Warp. We're going to make use of the fact that the Skyward Strike is actually longer and sort of warp our way into a cutscene that we're not actually supposed to be able to see. We're going to destroy this beehive first, because otherwise things get very messy. But using this bokoblin here, if you stand close enough to him as he's going to try to attack us, we can hopefully use our Skyward Strike to hit that goddess cube that you might have seen just up top left there. So you can get it in a very specific location. And very, very, very good. Normally what you would have to do is sort of go around this entire place, called, I think, deep woods. I don't remember what it's called because we never do it. But by activating that goddess cube, the game sort of requires you to do that cutscene. So by doing it early, it sort of warps you up there, which is very nice. Hence the name Cube Warp. I'm glad I got that first try because I spent way too long practicing that at way too late last night. And we enter Skyview Temple, which is very unfortunately not named the Forest Temple, although I think everyone calls it that.
Too many of the dungeons in this game, or locations in general, just have sky in the name. It's just sky something, I don't know. Birds.
Bird View Temple. All right. We're going to stand behind that tree so we can hit that switch up there. If you stand a little bit too close, there will be a Deku Baba plant enemy that you must take out. But by standing behind, that's not required.
Yeah, and Chad, this is where the Girahim fight is, so, Variety Pack is going to blaze through this dungeon. We need to get that in ASAP.
I believe in
You
y'all.
want to see Girahim. If you want to see Girahim blindfolded.
If you want to see Girahim, but you want Variety to not see Girahim.
Yeah.
We want Variety to not see him at all.
You got the.
Because
I think
he's
you get
scary.
it.
He does that weird tongue thing, and he's like spooky and teleports around. So I can sense a Variety Pack is going to be really scared to see Girahim. So we're just going to calm that fear by making it so everything's fine. She can't see it. Nothing scary at all.
All right, we have an interesting roll here. By rolling at just the right angle, we can make it past this spider without having to go around, as the game intends us to. There, I believe the idea of this first half of the dungeon is that you need to hit one switch above and one switch below, which is a cryptic way of saying hit two switches. That was the one above, to my knowledge, so now we have to go into this other room to hit the one below. We are effectively raising the water level so that the log that gives us the small key to get into the main room is accessible to us. Rolling through those webs, by the way, is very strange. I have no evidence to back this up. I can only speak anecdotally, but it feels like the requirements for rolling through the web quickly changes depending on which web it is. For example, the webs at the beginning of the temple that you might have remembered, I believe all you need to do is be on the outside edge of those. But for the remainder of the webs, it feels like you need to be as close to possible to the web before you roll. Oh, hello.
Oh, just walking right on through.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
This little spider here is named Nancy Senior. There's a spider in Twilight Princess that does something very similar, and the speedrunning community has named it Nancy. So we decided to call this Nancy Senior, since this game technically takes place at the beginning of the timeline. Do a couple stabs, and make some more eyes dizzy.
While we were going through that, we did get $25 from Hi Odai. It says, all Kikwis are cute Kikwis, less than 3. So took the easy way out.
It is true.
I mean, I think we can both agree on that. We can see eye to eye on cute Kikwis that make fun noises.
All right, with the words, with that small key, we can make our way to the central room of the dungeon, which looks very big and scary and intimidating, but there's only like 3 rooms that actually are available to us. We're gonna get some extra pellets here, just in case. And if anyone happens to have any skeleton emotes, anything that might imply bones of any sort, I would recommend that you use them in this next fight against a Stalfos that is coming up. It's gonna go by fast, so you gotta make them quick. All I'm gonna really do here is get a little bit of damage onto it, and then basically just dodge the rest of his attacks. Ideally, at least.
I did get $5 from Happy Bear, who says that my favorite Kikwi is the leader who says, and please forgive me, chat. cracks me up every time. How much do I have to donate for Pippy to imitate a quick Kiwi? Pippy, what's your price? Is it the remaining amount needed for the incentive for the blindfolded?
Oh, that sounds expensive. I mean, I'd do it for like a $25 donation, honestly.
You heard her, chat.
$25 for Kikui noises.
So that fight didn't actually go quite as planned. You'll see that I took quite a bit of shield damage, which should not matter if I play my cards right, but could potentially be a bit interesting. Thankfully, I have a shield potion to sort of offset that if need be. The other thing we got is the beetle, which is one of the items of all time. It basically just lets you point in a direction and sort of move this thing in that direction. We're going to be using it to hit quite a few switches along the way. All right, this room is... I should mention something about the shield. If you do not need to have the shield equipped for a battle, it is actually beneficial to not have it equipped. There's technically no difference, but the left Joy-Con is the way that you instigate both rolls as well as shield bashes. So occasionally the game will think that you meant to do a shield bash when you intended to do a roll. That's never really a horrible time loss, but we are speedrunners and we enjoy optimizations.
Yes. If you can get away with no time loss at all, that's just better, right?
We're just gonna doing a lot of block dragging and eye spinning, so you have a couple donations to read off.
I do, and we're at about $4,000 of the $5,000. We're so close. We're so close. But we're getting that key soon. The boss battle's happening. To help us get there, we have $10 from Dr. Odin, who says, "So cool to see a variety pack speedrunning at Frost Vitals. Here's $10 towards the Girahim fight blindfolded. The Malala Fund is such a great cause. Also, hi from Colorado." We also have $50 from Surreptitious Sneak, who says, "So happy to see the HD version of Skyward Sword on the big stage. Thank you so very much to the runners, commentators, staff, and everyone at Malala Fund for pushing for a better world."
Fantastic.
We also have 20... Oh, go ahead.
No, go, please.
we have $20 from FTAB, who says, "Bucks for bonks. I will donate $20 every time Link bonks. Good luck, a variety pack. Have a very good run."
Not so bad yet. I'm a little bit worried about the shield, if I'm being honest, but hopefully, like I said, hopefully that doesn't actually end up coming into play.
Also, that's what that shield potion is for, right? No, not a shield potion, revitalizing potion.
Excuse me. We went
I'm
over
sorry. Listen, we don't have items, we don't have potions. SD just doesn't have a lot of things.
All right, this next trick is very interesting. Not even really a trick. By moving across this tightrope, we don't actually have to take out any of these Dekubabas.
They're just there to be scary.
To fight us. Yeah, just there to look pretty, quotation marks.
They're aesthetic.
That is true. No, this is a Staldra, I believe its name is.
It is.
Basically, to beat those, you need to, well, I can't unequip the shield. You need to make sure you slash all three of its heads at the same time, which you can easily do by shield bashing its first attack. Coming up is one of your least favorite tricks. Would you like to describe it?
This is Spider Jump. It's way less scary in HD than it is in SD, but it's still fast. So you just knock the spider so it swings back and forth, and then wait for a certain point in the animation and hop by instead of using an item or going through some shenanigans to actually kill the spider. So this was pacifism against spiders. It's not a very difficult trick. It has a pretty wide window, but it almost always looks like you're gonna fail it even when you are well within the window. So it can be a little bit scary. And in SD, it has a habit of borking your files, which is not fun. But HD, we can do things like have autosaves, I'm told, so.
That was one of the movement decisions of all time. I will say that we were very close to actually fighting the Girahim blindfolded fight, so I'm just going to accidentally miss all these shots. Totally.
We are under $900, just $880 left.
Oh man, these ropes are so hard. If only
Oh
could
no!
just be a little bit.
That's
if
so
only I could just be a little
unfortunate.
bit faster.
Listen,
oh no, I'm
these
I'm
ropes-
sorry.
God, it's like I barely have time to read this $25 donation from Avienius, who says, "Good luck, Variety. Thank you for being not only a great speedrunner, but a great friend, Less Than Three, and Pippy. I love your commentary. 2 amazing Skyward Sword runners in one run. We are so lucky. Let's get that blindfold incentive, chat. We are so heckin' close."
I know. You might as well, right? These ropes are giving me a hard time.
Yeah, I think, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. I think a variety pack is scared of heights here, which is very, very valid. So if we could just, incentivize that once you're over this, you don't have to see anything anymore, at least until Girahim's done with.
Listen, these ropes are really poorly programmed
That
in
is
all...
actually true.
That's not
we
a
might as
joke.
well actually take the meme time to actually explain how awful these ropes are actually. They're just very strangely coded. They have very bizarre hitboxes that constantly move because they're ropes, and grabbing onto them is a nightmare.
It's really fun when sometimes it looks like you should definitely make the jump, and then Link just like picks left or right and jumps that way instead of forward.
Yeah,
And it's just
hilarious. Love it.
goodbye. Where are you going, Link?
We got $25 more from Lucy, a blindfold challenge. Yes, please. And $25 more from Heldon Subre, who says, "Final push for blindfolded Girahim. Let's go, chat. Save us from these vines." They hurt so much.
It's also good to point out that you do not lose health from voiding
Oh
in
my
this
gosh,
game.
yes.
Thankfully.
Yeah, I just noticed that. That's so weird. That's like the strangest thing. Because
Um,
every other Zelda game, you lose health for voiding, right?
Many
Yeah.
of them, for sure.
You do lose health for falling into lava or taking damage as you fall for some reason, but you do not actually lose health for just dropping into a void, which is very nice and convenient. Oh, we're going on a beetle journey.
We are. May I ask how we're doing on this incentive? I don't want to stall the event too much.
Yeah, let's go ahead and refresh one last time here. Unfortunately, we're still about $875 away, so I think we're gonna have to call it here this time.
All right, fair enough.
But it is a valiant effort, everybody.
Now we see how many tries the vines legitimately
Oh my
take.
gosh. That was not a meme. That was me legitimately failing the ropes.
The fun thing about these ropes that you're going to see in a moment is also that the intended way for you to get back with the boss key is to climb up that wall next to the chest and take a different path back. But the ropes are actually arranged in such a way that you can take the ropes back, and it is indeed faster to do so. So, hooray! More ropes with a steeper angle this time because we're trying to go up. So, even more annoying and precise.
All right, thank you for your valiant effort to get the blindfolded fights. We will. It is indeed slower, and I do need to make up some time for all the memeing that I was doing. So I guess it's good that we're doing it fast.
Also, can we get some appreciation of H?
Yes, H, of course.
Those rotational puzzles have the same starting point every time, so it's very easy to do them quickly. You just learn the movement. But this is Girahim 1, not blindfolded, unfortunately. But phase 1 is consistent, that he will always do the same movements every time. So you just kind of bait him with your sword to one side until he locks his hand, and then do damage. This section, however, that Variety's doing now is all RNG, and we have 2 versions of good RNG and one of bad RNG. If he chooses to pose or to dash, we can knock him into vulnerability. If he chooses to use darts, that's just time loss, and you might have noticed he's been doing a lot of those. But the darts, you just have to slash them away and wait for him to reshuffle his attack.
It is worth noting that being up close and personal to him is by far the most optimal thing. He just has less space to travel, and you can also knock the darts away before he shoots them at you, which is where a lot of the time loss comes from. I can't believe I hit him.
That was a beautiful interaction. It also of note that in SD runs, we kind of have to, live and die by your slashes a little bit more, because a lot of those hitting him out of those dashes is directionally specific. But with the shield, you can sort of brute force your way through it, because shield bashing will knock him out of the pose or the dash no matter what, and allow you to do damage.
All right, that was execution-wise a pretty good fight. RNG-wise, not very good. Do I pick this up? No, I'll be unsafe. Haha, I'll be risky.
Oh my gosh.
If you have lost any health by this point in the run, it is definitely worth picking it up, but since I have not taken any damage, it is pretty much optional. If the next boss of the game goes poorly, I will pick up the next heart container. We're gonna land one Skyward Strike onto this very far off, I guess, icon. I don't actually know what to call that. Statue, perhaps. And so we get a little bit of cutscene here, so feel free to read one or two donations.
Yeah, of course. We've got $25 from Watria. So glad to be able to donate. Love this game. Good luck. And here's hoping for the fight. Unfortunately, we didn't make it, but, there are still plenty of other awesome incentives to shoot for. We've got, coming up soon, Rezogun to upgrade the run to veteran difficulty. We also have $25 from Mini Mini, who says, "Go Variety. You're going to smash it."
All right, we're back in the sky, and B's going to take the moment to tell us that we did actually hit that goddess cube properly, so it gives a little bit of an introduction of how that works. You might remember Pippi mentioning that flying straight is in fact the fastest way to get to your destination, as any other direction actually does slow you down. The same is actually true for the beetle, although in a bit of a different way. The beetle item has two different speeds depending on if you are moving exactly horizontally or moving up in a direction. So typically for controlling the beetle, it is optimal to move up or down as much as you need to and then go horizontally for the rest of it.
Also of note is that both when entering and leaving Skyloft with the bird, there are multiple loading zones that will spawn you in a different part of Skyloft or a different part of the sky based on where you dismount your bird or call your bird. So Variety intentionally took the bird over to a very specific part of Skyloft before diving off, so that once she dives and lands, you land in the correct part. So you have the least distance to actually run on foot. And you'll see intentionally she will jump off various specific points in Skyloft before calling the bird to try to spawn in very specific regions of the sky, so we have the least distance to travel to get to our destination.
Yes, this one actually does not matter. The place we're trying to go to is directly in front of us. However, when we try to get to Lineru, we need to be a little bit more careful. There's going to be a bit of a gliding trick that we're going to be making use of. Hopefully I get that as well. It's very nice and very cool to watch.
You'll also see Variety going towards the base of the pillar. That's just so Link has less space to fall, and it doesn't play a animation of you dramatically diving. Oh my goodness, look at you go, it's majestic. We don't care about majesty here, we care about fast. So going towards the base of the pillar skips that animation playing at all.
Indeed. All right, this is my least favorite area of the game, Elden, for very, very many reasons. This section of the game just wants to damage you consistently, which is obviously not very good. I've set my estimate such that I can die, I believe, 5 times, or depending on where I die. Hopefully none of those actually happen, but RNG. This place introduces bombs, which we can actually destroy using our slingshot or a sword, which would damage us in the process, but sometimes you actually do want that.
There aren't nearly as many intentional deaths in this run as in SD because we don't have to trigger back in time, but it is of note that intentionally dying will warp you back to whatever your respawn point is, and sometimes that is faster. So there are plenty of other reasons why you might want to manage your health or intentionally blow up a bomb on your foot.
Exactly. You might have also seen me do something that looked pretty crass and just randomly shoot this random, very cute-looking seal in the face with a slingshot bullet. For some reason, when you land on the ground next to it, it likes to play a little cutscene and then shows you that you can't actually progress until you blow it up with a bomb. However, by shooting it in the face with a slingshot pellet, it does make that interaction slightly shorter.
Don't worry, the game didn't tell us, but they are definitely evil.
They are. All right, coming up is our last Skyward Strike fight, and this is by far the hardest one. There's just so many enemies that we need to take out on screen. Our trick is basically going to be activate all of them and get them all to aggro me, and then hopefully do exactly what we've done before, but there's just a lot more of them this time. So we need to get this guy ready. We need to wait for his little war cry animation, and then hopefully we get this. Most of them. I'll take it.
One little rude guy waiting out there.
Yeah, I think that actually would have worked if I had just done the did a horizontal strike, excuse me, instead of a diagonal strike, but not too big of a deal. Coming up here, we have the most strange bomb in the game.
It's a magic bomb.
Yeah, it's a magic bomb. You pick up this
Nobody
bomb,
knows why it works.
and then by setting it next to this pyre or the seal things, it dies and you don't, which we'll gladly take, but we do so confusedly. All right, so we got a little bit of a cutscene here with a character named Impa telling us where to go, which is up the mountain, as if we couldn't figure that out ourselves. So now is a great time for a couple of missions.
Of course, we have $25 from Renegade Boss. Let's go AVP and Pippi. Waiting all day to see you all crush this. Heart emoji. And I think we've gotten enough $25 donations here. Like shouting out Pippi. Pippi, I think we need to hear it.
Is it time for some Kikwi noises?
I think it is.
All right. There you are.
That was impressive. That was so impressive. Wow.
Did you know there's just a Kikwi that lives in my apartment? It's fine.
Oh, wow. All right, that little weird interaction we had on the cliffside there was very specific movement. These bokoblins with the boulders like to roll them down, but when you get too close, they stop their boulder rolling animations and pull out their swords instead. We want to make sure that they're constantly rolling boulders so that they do not knock us down when we get to the top of the cliff. So by running up very slowly on that mountain, we can make sure that he stays in his boulder rolling animation for the entirety of that segment. We're going to be doing it a couple more times here, actually.
Of note, there's also a lot of stamina management that goes into this section, and Elden in general, because if you stop running up these slopes, you start sliding down them on your butt. And we're gonna see Variety mess with that mechanic a little bit more later. But you do have to keep sprinting and keep losing stamina.
Yeah, it's safe, technically. Like, it's not dangerous to have to do it over and over again. It's just very slow. Oh, these are Mogmas, by the way. I feel like I should have mentioned that. I'm surprised that they haven't been mentioned in very much Skyward Sword media. They're very cool, and they're all very nice, despite what we might think about them being treasure hunters. And now we get our quest to rescue is not the right word, collect the 5 pieces of the key to the Earth Temple. The first of which is in that little cavern there, which we'll get later. The second one is in this little hole, which we have now picked up. The third one is under this tower, which for some reason has no one standing on it. We're going to throw a bomb and make it fall down. And there's going to be a little spot underneath. We can dig it up with our new magma mitts that we got from doing that Skyward Strike fight. Running back up the mountain, we're going to collect that piece that we missed before. You'll notice that there are no bokoblins on this platform anymore. That's because those mean guys over there decided to hurt their own friends.
Friendly fire was turned on this day.
Wait for a bit of stamina regeneration. It's very strange when text boxes and cutscenes restore your stamina and when they don't. Whenever there's a fee related cutscene, it never does. But it just seems a little bit arbitrary.
Yeah, you kind of just have to learn which ones do and which ones don't when you're learning the movement.
Yeah, so this is Elden Out of Bounds, which was discovered by Copernicus, but only recently made useful by Jade Miniboo. We're going to lead this bokoblin up to this little place here, and hopefully, with good RNG, run up the wall and knock us up. Very, very nice.
I was very kind of that.
It was very kind.
I'm just gonna say Boko.
That skips a very lengthy running section, which this saves about 35 to 40 seconds, depending on skill level. He can do one of two things there. He can either raise his sword in a war cry, like you saw one of the other bokoblins do earlier, or he can attack you immediately. We obviously want the attack to be done first. Thankfully, we got to good RNG. All right, here's our 4th key piece. And we have one final one, which we have the perfect amount of health for. Both of these hits that we're going to be taking are self-caused. We're going to roll this bomb over to this little wall, which looks very bombable if you've ever played a Zelda game. We're going to strike it, causing the bomb to explode, and also the wall to explode. But also us in the process.
There's so many layers to that.
We're going to pick up the final key piece, and then we're going to run headfirst into lava. We actually set a respawn point at the top of the tower, so we don't need to run all the way back up to the top of the Earth Temple.
Yeah, you actually only need to really be near the save statues, if I'm correct, for them to see you or something.
Yeah, basically. Is that not the case in SD? I don't remember.
I don't believe it is. There's a lot of differences with how saving works in general, because HD has auto saves and also the amiibos to interact with, and we do in general just save the game a lot in SD because of those file shenanigans. So
right. I will say that there's a trick that you can do at the beginning of this dungeon where you do the first one of these runs backwards and it saves a little bit of time, but I'm not actually going to end up doing it. What's more important is the trick that I'm doing right now that I might ask Pippy to describe.
Yeah, so those little ropes, if you can strike them and be not just in the air, but over the lava while it cuts the rope, it will give you full control during the bridge lowering animation. So it should freeze your movement there to wait for the bridge to lower, again, very majestically, and we don't have time for that. But for some reason, it treats you as if you're dead if you're over lava, so it doesn't actually take away your movement. It's a little bit finicky to get, so major props for getting both of them.
Yeah, that Lizalfos that we killed, completely unnecessary for us to kill, but you're going to see me be extremely cautious in this part of the dungeon. This is probably the worst thing in this run, this ball rolling thing. Basically, you need to use this ball to get to the end of the dungeon. And the problem with it is if you fall off, it sort of respawns you at the last point where you had solid footing. And as you're going to be seeing, the most solid footing that we do have is, in fact, all the way back at the beginning of the dungeon. So hopefully we do not fall off this ball, which is unfortunately rather easy to do.
Yeah, also, unlike those fun vine voids, the lava will do damage. So...
We're going to attempt to shoot these guys with a slingshot pellet, which this actually stunned this one. I'm not exactly sure why. That makes it so that... Okay, this is very... No, dude.
Ooh, a tail.
This is a very interesting fight, but fine, we didn't take any damage. That was my primary concern. Yeah, by shooting the Lizalfos in the face before you start the fight or enter that, land on the fighting platform, what ends up happening is that it skips a cutscene that would normally play saying, "Congratulations, here are our biggest champions, the Lizalfos." So we got to diminish their importance a little bit. We have now collected the bomb bag, which, as you might expect, lets us hold bombs. This is actually this Magma's bomb bag. But we're sort of gonna steal it from him. No, he gives it to us. He says he gives it to us.
He also gives us bombs, which he was holding without his bomb bag.
Yeah, no, don't worry about it.
Sense was made by this game. This game makes all the sense.
All right, so this segment of the game is awful. There's just no way around it. I'm sorry. I typically like to be positive whenever possible. It is not possible with this particular segment of the game.
Listen, that's why you run SD, so you get to skip it all.
Yeah, sure. I will say that if you've been looking for a Zelda game to run on the Switch and Breath of the Wild looks intimidating as it did to me, I would absolutely recommend Skyward Sword HD. It's not too difficult in terms of execution, and it has a lot of really fun things that you still get to do. So if you were looking for a Zelda game to run, and you wanted a 3D one specifically, and don't want to wait till Tears of the Kingdom, I would absolutely look into this game.
Also, just in general, Zelda games, 3D Zelda games have quite the reputation for being very broken and trick heavy. And while you do have a couple of tricks in Skyward Sword HD, in comparison to a lot of other Zelda games, the tricks are pretty forgiving and not super volatile. And I think it's a great way to like actually get comfortable with how sort of 3D game movement works and to really improve as a speedrunner. If you are interested at all, Skyward Sword HD is a great starting point.
Agreed. All right, we're going to be making use of what I was just very recently told, where if you have the beetle flying just in one direction, the speed of the beetle is actually like way higher for some reason. So that makes that particular beetle, what's the word I'm looking for, expedition, a little bit faster.
The great exposition of the flying beetle.
I don't know why they put this here, just to spite me, I guess. There's no reason for this to be here. It's just a way to waste your time.
Yeah, as noted earlier, you might see Variety also hop onto a couple of platforms along the way. That's just to set safe ground, and if this was like a world record attempt, we wouldn't be doing that. But obviously, we don't want to have to redo the entire ball rolling section if something goes wrong, so it's just a little bit of safety.
I'm not even gonna ask, how this makes sense physically, what I'm currently saying. So, this is quite the video game, and we did get quite the donation. We had $880 from Beautiful Dandy, and with that, we are over 2/3 of the way to upgrading the Resogun run after this to veteran, and it is excruciatingly difficult. I was trying to invent a new word there to describe how hard this run actually is. It's something you're not going to want to miss. Just a little over $400 away from that incentive. We have until the start of the run to get that in. So please get your donations in. Let's meet that incentive.
Absolutely. I actually got something that I've been dreading to get if I was going to get. I got peg skip, which involves pushing that peg that you saw me roll the ball into the wall, but jumping off of it at just the right time so that I land on the actual platform. Typically, the game wants you to push both of the pegs in, but with that little very fast trick, I was able to avoid having to do that. It's not a huge time loss if I don't get it, but it looks cool, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah. This is also what we were talking about earlier. This is called stutter sprinting, that you do not have enough stamina in one stamina wheel to get up that slope. So by spam clicking the sprint button, you can kind of artificially extend your stamina at the cost of some movement speed to be able to get up that entire slope and be able to skip the little alcove where you're supposed to recover stamina in the middle.
All right, this is the second boss key. But before we get to face the boss, we have to run away from a boulder here, which actually ends up being the boss. Spoiler alert. I don't know why I didn't get that stamina fruit there. I thought it was that was interesting. So it ends up looking like a D. So if you want to like to post some lowercase d's in chat, please do so.
Our second of 3 boss keys in the run.
And there it is. So I'm going to need to concentrate for this next fight. Would you care to describe the horrors of Scaldera?
So, Scaldera is a fun boss. Luckily in HD, we actually have the bomb bag. So you can actually feed him bombs. We're trying to feed him bombs King Dodongo style when he does his little suck-up animation that you're gonna see. But he also is stuck on this stage that is very long and skinny, and he likes to move up and down. So if you fail at keeping him stun-locked at the bottom and dealing enough damage all at once, he's going to add on more cycles and move up the stage, and that's so slow. It's a huge amount of time lost all at once. So we're gonna hope for optimally few cycles here.
Yeah, you might have noticed my camera panning up. That was not intentional. That's just my Joy-Cons drifting. There's a trick that's coming up that really relies on Joy-Cons not drifting, so I really hope that they stay in line at least for until the end of the run. I'll get new ones after this run, it's fine, but...
Fingers crossed.
All right, let's do this.
So Variety's gonna wanna hit him with a bomb to make him roll down and trigger his suck-up animation. He's gonna just vacuum up those bombs and then is gonna try to deal damage directly to his eye. And hopefully deal enough damage that he will transition phases when we want him to and won't be running up and down the stage a whole lot.
Yeah. Okay. When he's up on his, I hesitate to say hind legs, but you know what I mean.
Spindly long legs.
Yeah. It is, you can't hit him out of it, so you sort of have to wait, and it's very unfortunate. Okay, it's gonna be 4 cycle, I think.
And he kind of decided that he didn't want to take any extra damage there, so he just wanted to add on an extra cycle, which is quite rude of him, honestly.
All right, yeah, getting the hello. Okay. Doing this fight in 3 cycles is optimal. We have lovingly called it tricycle. I think that more people get quad cycles than they do tricycles, which is very unfortunate.
The nice thing is, though, that at least when you have the bomb bag, he can't soft lock. So he will just keep looping through cycles, though, until you deal enough damage, which just adds on time every single cycle, which is not ideal.
Yeah. I said that I was going to get the heart container if I was low on health, and I'm going to stand by that promise, because the next section of the game is not necessarily as dangerous, but it can be a little bit more unpredictable. So I'm going to be safe, even if it is slightly slower. Pick up some bombs on the way out. Oh yeah, do you want to talk about interacting with these doors?
The doors are very silly. You'll notice that they have these light cycles where they go up and down. When you interact with a door, it actually doesn't open immediately. It waits until it gets to the most dim of its light cycle, and then it goes through the animation of like flashing really bright and opening. So as long as you don't take enough time for it to transition into a new cycle, you can actually get away with doing quite a bit of extra things before you get to the door, and it doesn't lose time. Which is, nobody knows why the doors had to be cycle-based, but thanks, Nintendo.
All right, we're going to do a little bit more flying. I would just say that you have time for 2 donations if you have any.
Excellent. And donations we have $150 from Rufus, who says, loving this run of Skyward Sword, A+ gameplay and commentary from Variety and Pippy. Okay. These two have been crushing it all run long, and it's been just a pleasure sitting here listening to it all. It's so fun, this run.
I appreciate it.
We have another $25 from Anonymous, who says, thank you, Frame Fatales, for everything y'all do for Malala Fund and for the speedrunning community. Thank you.
All right, so Pippy mentioned earlier that depending on where you call the loft wing after you do a dive, actually determines where you actually show up on the map. And this is the most difficult one. The first one was a little bit difficult. I had to hold left 3 seconds. The second one, I had to do no manipulation. But for this one, I have to be a little bit more cautious. This one is very easy to miss, so I'm not going to be too upset if I don't. Basically, I'm going to be rolling off the ledge at a very specific angle, holding one direction for 5 seconds, and then holding another direction for 5 seconds. If I do that properly, I will not end up in this loading zone as I did before, but the one for Lanayru. Okay, good. Very nice, very nice, very nice, very nice.
Claps for Scary Bird Dive.
That one can look a little bit suspicious because, as you saw, when I called the bird, the Eldon pillar was actually was the one that was in view, not the Lanayru one. But thankfully, it all depending on actual location on the map as opposed to what's being visible at any given time.
No, we are now in Lanayru, which, because this is HARP and not any %, is the final area of the game, the final dungeon, I should say. And if this were any %, there would be a host of other dungeons and stuff afterwards. So if you would like to pick up the run, you get a fun surprise as to what the rest of the run looks like.
We're going to throw a bomb down here, wait a couple seconds, then push the minecart all the way down. This will make it so that when we hop down here and call these 2 enemies, they will explode. That is a little bit faster than waiting for them to not be electric anymore and then slashing them.
A brief life they lived.
All right, 10 more pushes and we can make our way up this little cavern. It is faster to slingshot this little time shift stone here before getting into the area. If you've played Skyward Sword casually, you'll probably remember these as being one of the coolest things about this game. At least that's what I thought personally. It basically reverts everything back several hundred, maybe even 1,000 years to something that looks futuristic, which is which makes describing time shift stones a little bit confusing because it looks like it goes into the future, although it goes into the past. All right. Now, the best thing about these minecarts is that you can spin in them. So if anyone has any spin emotes, anytime I get into a minecart, I will always spin without fail. So please use all of your spin emotes.
Spinning is not technically faster, but it makes you feel good, so.
It does.
If it feels good, it's fast, right? That's how time works?
Must be. Time flies when you're having fun or whatever.
Yeah.
That's not gonna work. It needs to get into the basketball hoop.
Love physics.
All right, coming up is something that I'm actually rather afraid for, if I'm going to be totally honest with you. This is called break sliding. Effectively, what you need to do is hold your left stick in a very specific position, and after releasing it, you're going to shoot across the sand. That was an okay one.
Yeah, if you're familiar with any other... Oh, that bat really wanted to get in your way, but if you're familiar with any other 3D Zelda run, break sliding does work in a lot of games to some degree, and is reliant upon holding something called ESS position, which is you are actually holding slightly backwards, like just out of the dead zone on your control stick, and it's gonna give you negative speed despite the fact that you're moving forward. And the quicksand is only coded to reduce your speed if you have positive speed. So obviously having negative speed lets us scoot along a little faster and also lets us pass some gaps that we wouldn't normally be able to get across on one stamina wheel because you would run out of sprint and would sink into the quicksand.
Yes, coming up very soon is something called Temple of Time Skip, which is it's unlike those other break slides that I just did that were sort of optional. Temple of Time Skip is both the hardest one and also the most necessary of them. So hopefully I don't spend too long there. I will be 100% upfront and say that my hands are slightly shaky, so maintaining ESS position is not going to be the easiest, but I will do my very best. You might remember that before I said that having your shield out when you're trying to run is typically suboptimal because you might accidentally do shield bashes. That all goes out the window with these enemies. Ampullas, I believe they're called. They will do that at you, do that little charge, which you can thankfully shield bash, but it can be extremely annoying if they charge at you and you do not have a shield. All right, the way that I do this next fight in the past is going to depend highly on which direction this Technoblin, as they're called, decides to walk. Okay, that's a good direction. That means I can knock him out of the zone of the past, then take a bomb, throw one over here. He's running away from it in time. That's okay. A little bit slow, but safe. And I think we're in a scenario where being safe is a little bit nice.
Yep.
All right, coming up is the Temple of Time. Oh, I should mention, we get the hook beetle here, which lets our beetle now carry bombs, which is, I guess, cool.
I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts.
Bomb
But
delivery
yes.
system.
There they are,
Now
all
it's Temple of
standing
Time
in a
Skip,
row.
which,
Big ones,
bear with me,
small
please.
ones,
This
some
might
as
be a
big as
little
your
while.
head. Give them a flick, a twist of the wrist. That's what the showman said.
No, okay, good.
Variety is lying to us.
Speaking
Said it would
purposes,
take
you can just call
time.
me
Got it
Axis.
first try.
That is such a, what's the word? Volatile trick. I'm so glad that I got it. We could have been there for hours, and Frost Fatals would never invite me back. All right. I do need to concentrate a little bit here. Would you like to explain what we're trying to do here? If you remember.
That's the funny thing is that, of course, this is past the point that SD does not any longer continue on the intended route, but HD, where you can't sequence break quite as much, is going to more or less continue upon the intended path. But I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that we're trying to complete 3 little trials to solve a puzzle in various areas. And a lot of them are going to rely upon using these time shift stones to go back and forth and change the state of the room.
Are there any points
where
that you
in
definitely
the present
know would
you
be
have
good
all
for
of this
donations
quicksand to
in
worry about, and
particular?
in the past, which looks like the future, you don't, and you just have regular floor. Hopefully, this is a test of my casual knowledge. We're also have a lot of like electricity theming in Lanayru in general. So Variety's picking up these eggs that are the past version of those big Ampelus enemies and trying to bring them to these little like conductor posts to power the door and get into the next area.
All right, we have to do a final stab to get them into the conductor posts, as Pippi called them, which is actually rather obnoxious because there's supposedly a very regular interval to which they will electrify themselves and damage Link. However, in practice, it feels completely random, so I want to make sure that they are indeed post-electrification before I decide to just stab them in.
If they're electrified, they will electrocute you and your metal sword. So we don't really want that to happen. That kind of sounds like time loss to me.
It does. And I wouldn't know anything about time loss, especially not leaping off of vines for 5 minutes aimlessly. That would be preposterous. Alright, this is why we have the shield. The way the enemy AI works in this game is that if they're not on screen, typically they will not notice you. But, sometimes you can't avoid it.
Generally, once they're off screen by a certain amount, they will stop moving because the game kind of makes everything off screen stop moving in order to save active memory, which is how tricks like what Variety was talking about of if you're in Earth Temple, you can just turn the camera backwards in order to save a bit of time because it freezes cycles of things later on in the room. So manipulating what you're looking at can be nice and helpful and save a little bit of time, but is also a little bit annoying because they do move around quite randomly.
This Ampelus is really after me, so I'm gonna take a little bit of time to be safe.
I feel like this is the only situation I've ever seen where, saying, oh, they can't see me if I can't see them actually applies.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Oh, please attack. Please attack. Thank you.
It's just hyping it up.
These guys are actually super obnoxious. Mostly because if you hit them in the wrong direction, they will hurt you. But even more than that, that particular one is... I'm gonna wait. That particular one is also bad because you can sort of spin attack him in... you can spin attack him so that the ending blow prompt does not show up because the hitbox for the ending blow is actually in the wall. So I wanna make sure that I line him up in the hallway so that I don't actually have to annoy myself. All right, that's 2 of 3 done.
Just one more to go. I really appreciate that, despite the fact that this game is being played on the Switch and the original was for the Wii, that all these puzzle rooms are filled with giant game cubes.
Yep.
Really quick, I do want to interrupt with one awesome donation we got here. We had $5 from Osmorn, who says, I love Skyward Sword and I love a variety pack. I'm so glad to see her at Frost because her streams and community make me feel better without fail. Variety is great at her speedruns, and I'll make sure to remind her of that whenever I can. Good luck, Variety. Thank you for everything that you do, and I hope you can play us a song on your harp when all is said and done. Your friend, Oz.
Thank you very much, Osborne. Oh, okay. I was trying to do a very specific thing there, where if you roll the bomb into the path of that falling brick, it'll destroy that brick that I just destroyed. Wow, that was a terrible sentence. But yeah, I did not get it, and in fact hurt myself, which actually might end up being a good thing, because I do need to damage down for a couple things coming up in the run. All right. With all three of the trials now passed, I think we're actually making that a little bit more dramatic than it actually is. I think they're just terminals that we need to activate. Regardless, we'll be dramatic. I'm good at games. We've passed the 3 trials. Now we can open the Lineru mining facility.
It's a Herculean task.
It is. All right, this puzzle is a little strange. So if you'll see that there's the water, there's the thunder, and then there's the fire, which corresponds to placements on this little dial here. I'm not just randomly pushing these in for fun. Nice motion controls, thank you.
This game, like, casually has a lot of really fun and interesting puzzles in the dungeons, and I think in general it does a really good job of, like, playing around with its own mechanics. Like, as a casual experience, I know when it came out, Skyward Sword got a lot of negative press for the motion controls, but if we can see past motion controls, it's a really great casual experience, and if you haven't played it, I highly encourage you to. Sure. It's a great time.
All right, we're in our final dungeon, Lineru mining facility.
Lots of minecarts.
We're going to start by picking up this bomb with our new and improved hook beetle and dropping it into this basketball hoop. There's going to be a lot of basketball hoops in this run for whatever reason. Oh gosh, that's going to hit me. Roll out of the way. Okay.
There's a fun quirk that comes up pretty often that they can do that.
There's actually 3 basketball hoops that we're going to see that I'm going to completely ignore. We'll get to that in a little bit. But there still will be a lot of basketball hoops regardless. This next section is interesting because if any of these little eye worms, I don't know what they're called, drop items in front of the path of my box, then for some reason the boxes have infinite density and just can't be moved. But thankfully, they were nice to me and did not drop anything in the path of the box.
Link can move a full-sized crate, but cannot move a full-sized crate and, like, a rupee, I guess?
Yep, very, very heavy. All right, normally you're supposed to do exactly what I did before with the hook beetle, but because we have bombs and we have slingshot pellets, we can destroy these crates without having to resort to slow strategies. Nice. Do you want to come down here? Thank you. You don't technically need to kill those things, but they can get in your way, and because getting electrified in this game just feels awful, it's really hard to describe without, like, you actually getting electrified, but getting electrified in this game feels really bad. We're going to make sure we activate this save statue here, because we're going to return to it later via Death Warp, as we saw before in the Earth Temple. And then with our new small key, roll our way past this Staldra and enter the next room.
While we have a moment, because we didn't mention it earlier, So in the SD version, there are only motion controls. In the HD version, button controls are an optional play variant if you want to play and are not and are not a fan of motion controls. However, there are some inputs on the button controls that are slower and a little bit less consistent to perform. So generally, it's optimal to use motion controls. That being said, the button controls are fully functional. They do work.
Yeah, it is actually rather ironic that the button controls end up being slightly less consistent than the motion controls, just because they're slower. And by the nature of this run, you want to make sure that you have access to all the directional sword slashes at all times. There's a lot of wind-up that goes into the button controls of the HD version. It can be a little bit difficult to implement, or at least execute, if you're new to the button controls. So I would encourage you to try motion controls if you are interested in picking up this game. However, like Pippy said, the button controls are fully functional and will absolutely serve your purposes, should need be. There's an enemy called a Beamos up here, which basically, as you might expect from the name, shoots a beam at you. For some reason, he's not paying attention to me, but I'm going to pay attention to him because I'm very scared of him. What he can do is very unfortunately, beam you while you are attempting to pull down that lever to open the door. Thankfully, he did not do that. Alright, this little room here involves a lot of jumps, and we're going to intentionally take damage on this Froke enemy, I believe it's called. This will make it so we have...
fish.
Yeah, exactly. This will make it so we have 1 health, so that the next time we take damage from our self-inflicted bomb, we will go back to that save point that we set all the way back at the beginning of the temple. But not before we pick up this very useful and cool item called the vacuum cleaner.
The reverse vacuum cleaner, actually.
You know, fair enough.
This is definitely one of the items of all time in the Zelda series.
It is. I have some personal gripes with some of the items in Twilight Princess for not getting a ton of use, but I must say that the Gust Bellows, which just blows air, sort of blows them all out of the water in terms of being... I see. That was not intentional. I promise that was not intentional. I am not that...
I'm glad Pippy and I are on the same page here.
Yeah.
I was gonna give you credit for it, come on.
I honestly should have just taken it. So, as you saw with the Gust Bellows, we can now blow piles of dust away. Wow.
You also can clean somebody's house with it.
You can. That's
and blow fans, and I think that's the end of list.
Pretty much. This is the last break slide of the run, so if I can get this, we're scot-free. All right. No more shaky hands compromising the integrity of the run. If I mess up now, it is all my fault.
Break slides, depending on how close you are to like that just outside of the controller dead zone position, you can pick up more or less speed from them. So a good break slide, you have perfect positioning and you go much further than a kind of iffy break slide. So I will say you only, I think, had to redo 1 break slide, so pretty darn good.
Yeah, generally speaking, that was actually pretty good. Please don't hit me. Centrobes are probably the worst enemy in this dungeon, because they can just, like, snipe you from halfway across the room. I've had runs that... There's another room in this dungeon where there's a Centrobe, and it just... I was low on health, so which is good because you need to do another death warp. Spoilers, but I was low on health, which was good. I was feeling great. We were on a PB pace run, and the Centrobe just decided to snipe me from completely across the other side of the room, and the run was dead. Hopefully that does not happen. I have thankfully saved the potion that I had, so if I end up finding myself in that position, it's not going to be as hazardous as it normally would be.
Now, while we are pushing blocks and blowing air, I do want to remind everybody that we do have an incentive for the next run that's coming up very, very soon. We want to upgrade to Veteran, the Resogun category. It's extremely difficult, so difficult, the runner says. Maybe they won't even be able to talk at all during it because it requires so much focus. We're a little over $300 away from meeting that incentive, so please get your donations for that. It's coming up soon.
That enemy we just destroyed was called an Armos. Probably one of my favorite Armos designs in all of Zelda. It's a little bit gimmicky, but I think it's still fun. Effectively, you need to blow the magnets that form a propeller on its head and will reveal 2 weak points. One of them requires a slash, one of them requires a stab. You can ideally do it in one cycle, but, you know, motion controls be motion controls sometimes, so sometimes you don't get it, but that is okay. Here we get another astounding example of if the enemies aren't on screen, they simply do not see you. There were like tons of enemies that were around me, shooting things at me and electrifying themselves to be threatening, but because they were simply not on screen, I was not in any danger. You might see that I'm running out of stamina on the top right there, this time on purpose. Would you like to explain why, Pippi?
Yeah, so for some reason you have the same movement speed if you are crawling while not sprinting and crawling while completely out of stamina. So it doesn't actually cost any movement speed to be out of stamina, so you can just completely sprint for as long as you can. I don't know how you sprint while crawling. Link knows somehow. And then just, like, it's as if you were just walking normally. There's no time loss to it.
Coming up is a very interesting trick that lets us basically skip a large portion of the dungeon. I will show you as we go through it. We're going to remove the shield. We don't exactly need it for a little bit. We're going to set another death warp point here. So we're next to the boss door when we need to be. We're going to pull this minecart over, which just so happens to have a time shift stone in it. Not only does it have a time shift stone, though, it also has the property of when it's activated, it moves to the other side of the room. The other side of the room is where the boss key is. So we're going to do a very specific setup here, where we drop a bomb. That's not going to work, actually. We're going to drop a bomb in this spot here, and do a bit of a jump slash onto the minecart. It will blow up the time shift stone and not us, meaning that we can just sort of take a ride. Link's left leg just does crazy things here because of the weird collision.
The game does not want you to be up here, and it's very tenuous staying up here. Controllers are put down during this trick.
Yep.
If you touch anything, Link goes, "Oh, the side," and just falls off. So he can vibrate his leg as much as he wants. We're not going to stop him.
Absolutely not. Alright, this is probably my favorite room in the dungeon. It also just so happens to be the most volatile. This is what happened. This is where the event nice that I talked about happens, where I got sniped from halfway across the room. Hopefully this does not happen. I have quite a bit of health. We're going to call this platform over here for later. And do some more basketball. Not before taking out these 2 bats that will follow us. I think that was strange. Alright, basketball number 1. Basketball number 2. And we're going to pull out our gust bellows to blow up this completely conspicuous, or inconspicuous, I guess, if I'm trying to be sarcastic. Time shift stone covered in dust. Now, if you're very fast, what you can do is you can actually run across this conveyor belt before the bomb goes off to activate the time shift stone, but if you don't, it's extremely awful. So I'm just going to be a little bit safe there. you might see 3 basketball hoops in the distance over in the center of the screen. We will not actually be activating any of those basketball hoops. They are, for some reason, extremely permeable to bombs. What you will see me do is basically grab onto a bomb with my beetle and then push it into each of the basketball hoops in a very specific order.
Yeah, luckily they're the hitboxes that are on the other side of the statue that you'd usually have to knock down with throwing a bomb in a basketball hoop are still active and not shielded by the statue in actuality.
Good for us, but a little bit awkward.
Sorry, sports fans. The match has been canceled.
Yeah, you'll see the little treble clef looking thing in the front of those of these walls. If you hit it on there, then that's too much distance. Oh god, it's gonna shoot me. I'm gonna be a little bit careful here. Yeah, so the hitbox is too thick there, so it will not let you activate the hitbox from there. But all other things are, all other places on the walls are fair game. We have 2 Armoses here, nothing too difficult. And we actually have a little bit too much health, so I will damage down on the Armos. We're taking it out. Stab, please, thank you. Okay. Get ourselves down to 1 health. Place a bomb, and pick up the boss key for this area. We're almost done with the run. We have 1 more boss left, and then 1 more very long traversal section, because this game loves its drama. So if the first boss key spelled out H, and the second one spelled out D, the final one will spell out 3. My community hashtag that I decided to use for this run is HD3. Just in commemoration, I guess, of a very important set of acronyms. Alright, we must activate the time chest stone before getting in the boss door, so we're going to... This one, okay, this boss key is always very difficult for me. Okay. And we face now against Moldarok. There is a very, very fast way to do it, a very slow way to do it, and a midway point on how to do it. I will be doing the midway point. You're going to basically see me shield the eyes, or the claws that house the eyes, which are, in typical Zelda fashion, the weak point of the boss. After doing so, I will hit it once. However, I need the shield out. But afterwards, I can actually snipe it with a slingshot pellet, which will reset its stun. Nice, that's the first claw done. Ideally, you only need to use 1 slingshot. Nice miss, Moldarok. You can get 2 slashes for every slingshot pellet, but it requires some very precise timing that I'm not going to bother with today, I think.
Sometimes being fast is about being consistent.
Oh, and that was not the end. That's okay. We also need to be pushing him against the wall, actually. Reason being that after that, his eye will open in the front, and we'll do 4 stabs. And because he's against the wall, he has nowhere to retreat. Which means that the fight is over very quickly. That was a very, very good Moldarok fight, actually.
It's got a bit of a wimpy second stage there, but it's kind of satisfying to watch.
So that's the final boss. I would say that time comes in like maybe a minute 30. I will let you know before that actually happens. No reason to get this heart container, but I'm going to get it for the fans out there.
Are there really die-hard heart container fans? Let me know.
So any percent of this game is very volatile. There's a boss that is called Levias, which flies around and you have to use your loft wing to control it, and every time you get hit, it takes 2 damage. It's very difficult, and when I do any percent runs, it's not optimal by any means, but when I do any percent runs, I collect every single heart container that I see, because I am so scared of dying to Levias. That fight is a bit brutal. I'm going to do exactly what I said before by making the beetle go up as high as I need to, and then use the faster horizontal movement speed to get to our destination. We're going to do one last spin in a minecart, so if you got those spin emotes, please use them. Time will end on the fade out after I exit the linear mining facility.
It's nice of Skyward Sword to give us this big dramatic outro.
Yeah. It feels like something that would happen near the end of the game. Despite it being the end of the run, the game actually has several hours left to go.
This is an incredible end to the run. Like, wow. I can see why you like this category.
Yes, it's not as like flashy necessarily as SD, but it has so much to optimize, and it's really, really fun. Time in 3, 2, 1. Time. That was pretty good. I'm pretty proud of that.
GG's. Very nice run.
I guess I have time for shoutouts. So I'd like to, again, shout out the Skyward Sword community. You can find the Discord on Skyward Sword HD on speedruns.com. It's a super welcoming community. It's a lot of people, but everyone there is willing to help, and there's like glitch hunting and stuff like that. There's a tournament for SD going on right now. A lot of events are happening all the time. It's a super great community, and without them, I would not be able to be where I am today running this game for you all. Also, of course, shoutouts to Pippi for being a fantastic host.
No, that's tomorrow.
So sorry, fan. Yeah, a fantastic commentator, filling in all the spaces that I had nothing intelligent to say for.
That's a lie. You had so much to say. I'm sure you would have been fine.
And yeah, I've been a variety pack. I have another run coming up later in Frost Fatales on the final day. I'll be running Bioshock Infinite. I run this game, I run Bioshock Infinite, I run some Bayonetta games, so if any of those are your bag, you can find me on Twitch as well. Thank you so much for having me, and hope you enjoyed yourself.
Thank you so much, Variety Pack, for that run. It was a treat to see. Definitely the first time I've seen this specific category. I love it. And we're setting up for our next run, Resogun, and we still have an incentive to meet there to upgrade the run to veteran difficulty. It's something you're not going to want to miss, so please get your donations in. There's still a little bit of time left. I just refreshed. We're $214 away from this, and donations like this $100 donation from Matt Lord, who says, a Zelda game that's played quickly by Variety and here, Pippi. No back in time with the OG. This is Skyward Sword HD. Thank you so much. And with donations like that, we're getting ever so closer to getting to the wild, incredibly difficult incentive for Resogun. We also have a $20 donation from Sarah of Mars. I hate to make the runner stressed over veteran, but yeah, I kind of want to see that. Trust me, it is something you want to see. We also have $10 from Umizer, who says, good luck. And with that, I'm going to be signing off from the host desk. It's been a pleasure. I've been fan_TV. You are great. Go ahead and get that incentive. We're going to go into a quick break, and by the time we come back, you're going to be taken care of by the wonderful Tozzle. And I want them, when they come back, to see that incentive met. Have a good one, everybody.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Frost Fatale's 2023 in benefit of Malala Fund. My name is Tozzle, and I'm going to be your host for the next two runs, including Resogun by Aska424, which will be coming up shortly. While we get that set up, I would like to talk about our current bonus incentives and milestones. Firstly, if we raise $20,000 by the end of Kingdom Hearts, we will get to see the bonus game Spyro Year of the Dragon reignited. And I have a fun fact about the Year of the Dragon. You might know that this year is the Year of the Rabbit. And you know what comes after the Year of the Rabbit? The Year of the Dragon. Which means if we raise a total of $20,000, we will get to go to the future to watch this game played. How cool would that be? I have never seen a speedrun played in the future, and I need to see this happen. This is also a milestone incentive, which means all donation goes towards meeting this incentive, and you can assign your donations to other incentives that are currently open, like the Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep bonus, which is the two bosses of the final episode will be fought after the main run. So be sure to select and add the incentive when donating. Speaking of incentives, we have made the Resogun difficulty much harder for Aska424, which I'm really excited to see. Well done, chat. We have a few donations to read here. I have a $25 no comment donation from Rio. Thank you so much for your donation. We also have a donation from Jemita, $25. Thank you, everyone, for such a wonderful event year after year. Let's keep supporting women all around the world and have a wonderful FF week. And chat, I would like to take this opportunity to tell you about one of our partners and our Frame Fatales community. The GDQ Hotfix shows off communities in speedrunning that are sometimes overlooked during marathons and elevates speedrunners year-round. We have shows for all interests, including ones that can help you find new games, teach you how to speedrun, and shows focused on more niche parts of speedrunning, such as randomizers. We also have special events. For more information, go to gamesdonequick.com/hotfix. Frost Fatales is presented by Frame Fatales, an all-women community for those who are interested in speedrunning, charity events, and gaming. In addition to our two flagship events, Frost Fatales and Flame Fatales, we have a supportive community Discord with activities year-round, including Game of the Month and randomizer events. If you are a woman and would like to join Frame Fatales Discord server, DM the @FrameFatales Twitter account or the GDQ Instagram account, or send an email to framefatales@gamesdonequick.com. All women, cis, trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming are welcome to join. We have a $100 donation from Taven. No comment, but thank you so much for the donation. We also have a $25 donation from Eva. No comment, but thank you as well for your donation. A reminder that $25 will get you eligible for all prizes currently available today, which is pretty cool. There are some amazing prizes. One of my personal favorites is that Zelda light. I would tear down my green screen to put that up because it is just so cool. We also have our favorite donator, Anonymous, $25, no comment, but thank you, Anonymous. And with that, it looks like we are good to go. Please buckle your seatbelts and keep your hands inside the Phobos. You donated for it. I'm excited for it. It's time to blast into overdrive with the Resogun Any% Veteran Mode, also known as Blink and You're Dead. Asuka 424, take the controls.